All right, welcome back to Lag Demon Programming. In the last video, what we did was we created this very simple little language where we specified some rooms and then we described them a little bit with basic stuff. But this particular language, while it's not bad, it's not my preferred way of doing this sort of thing. What I really want to do is create kind of an object-oriented structure, because if you think about what a dungeon is a thing, and it contains rooms, and the rooms contain objects of different kinds and people and mobs possibly. Although in a text-based game, I don't know if we should call them mobs because they're not really all that mobile. But this language is not really conducive to that. So what I want to do is start by redesigning our language, and let's begin by moving this tab over to the main area here, so we have a nice big area, and I can. I guess I should have editor font zoom. I wish they give you a better way of doing this. There we go. That's a little bit bigger. You should be able to see it now. So this isn't really what I want the language to look like. And so let's start thinking about what we want. So the purpose of this particular language is to be able to specify our dungeon layout so that it can be loaded in from a text file and then possibly saved in some binary format that can load quicker without having to recompile. But we'll get down the road on that later to some kind of serialization. But for now, this is what I want to do. I want to start off with the keyword dungeon, which is going to tell the system, okay, we're starting to specify a dungeon. And we should probably give that dungeon a name, so we'll just call it my first dungeon. Now this would be an identifier, and so it wouldn't have spaces or anything in it. It's just an identifier. We don't need the semicolon. And then we'll do this, or we can do it like this. I don't know, whichever you prefer. I think it probably looks better that way. Then we can have different blocks in here, and these different blocks can be reused by different things. And one of those kinds of blocks that we can have, and actually, you know what? Let's make this a capital D, and we'll make this thing case sensitive. So we can have a description block inside the dungeon. And a description block could have something like a display name. And what we want to call it, my first dungeon. And this would take a string after it. And then we probably want some sort of a textual description. And strings, normal strings, where you have to put slant ends and stuff in them for new lines, can be cumbersome for that. So we'll have a block, a position called text, and we'll let it take a special kind of string that starts with an @ sign. And in this we can put this is some formatted text that can contain new lines, tabs, and other formatting. So the idea here is that this particular text block, we don't have to put any special symbols in. We can just type any text, and the format will be what we type in. So even leading spaces are tabs. So it really needs to be over here at the edge, and we'll see if we like that. If we don't like it, we can always change it. So that's our basic description of a dungeon. Now, what else does it have? Well, we can specify rooms. We could also specify that there's certain items available in the dungeon, and those items could be specified around. So We could do that like this. We could go item, and items are kind of small, so we don't necessarily have to have a big description about them, though we could. So we could have a couple of different ways of describing an item. So we'll do this one. We'll say that this one's key is a knife. That's its ID is knife, and it could have another parameter after that, a sharp knife as a description. It could also have a value, and maybe we'll use an equal sign for that. Value equals 10. For purposes of collecting it and possibly selling it later, 10 whatever, or some number. We might come up with some monetary system to go with it. What else could we say about an item? We could say whether it's unique or not. So we won't state that here. What we'll do is we'll have another one. We'll have a keyword unique and item. Maybe it's a scepter, a jewel encrusted golden scepter. SC. And it's got a value of maybe 1,000. But it's a unique item in this system. So there's only one of them in the game. So knife is not unique, and we can scatter knives around in different rooms, and it'll always use this description. But if we put a scepter somewhere, it'll only let us put down one. So then we could have a room. So we could have a room, and we could call it its ID of lobby. And this takes a block again, and it has a description block that it allows. Description. And so its display name is the main lobby. And its text description could be just a simple string. This is the lobby. So it can take either kind. It's both are considered strings, whether it's the @ sign. The @ sign allows different kinds of data to be collected, but they're both just strings. So there's a room. And a room also has exits. So we can go, and exits are a list of things. So we can say exits, and we can make a list maybe inside square brackets. So we can have an exit to, I don't know, we'll call it torture chamber and cell block. So we can have a room, torture chamber, description, display name, a torture chamber, and text, a bad place to be. And I'll just copy this, and we'll make the other room the cell block. We'll call this cell block, a room full of cells. Very well, we'll call this one a very bad place to be, and we'll say that this one is just a bad place to be either way. So there we go. So what is this language saying? It's saying that a dungeon is composed of a description and items or unique items and rooms within it. Okay. And what we're going to do is create a compiler that will take this and it will generate classes and connect them together accordingly. Now, we said exits here, and since this thing's got exits to torture chamber will automatically get an exit back to lobby, I think. I think I prefer that. That makes it easier to code. You don't have to coordinate all these. You just say what you want to go to, and what you go to will automatically have a door coming back. Now we can eventually maybe change this, and you know, exits can be perhaps locked in one direction and unlocked in the other direction, or locked in both directions, and we might figure out a way to do that. But we're going to keep it simple for now and just see if we can get something generated that we can then write some commands so we can move around within this dungeon. So let's set this off to the side now so we can see it, and let's go revisit what our dungeon is. Also, for now, I'm going to take out these expressions. We don't need these at the moment. We're not going to be doing any calculations in this. We're just going to be creating the dungeon. So a dungeon is composed of, at the top level, that keyword, dungeon. And so we also have to look at our lexer here. So let's start by going through, well, we've got dungeon, except that I want it to be, I decided I want it capital, and rooms, or room. We don't need room anymore. We just need room. We need, so what other keywords do we have? We have the keyword description. And we don't need, excuse me, that was name. This is the one I want. The keyword description will return description. Display name is one, so display name. Okay, exits is going to be part of rooms, and it's with a capital again. We'll still have that one. Name, do we use name? We use display name instead of name, so I'm going to change this to display name, and that's fine. We'll return the token name. Now we probably need a few others. We've got rooms. We need the word unique, and we will return the keyword, return UNIQUE. These are just keywords, so there's no data or anything to send with them. We've got the word item, return item, and we'll have to fill these in. Pull this over a little bit. We've got the word value, and you know what? I'm going to make that capital as well to be consistent with our keywords, which are all capitalized. Oh, and we've got the keyword text as well. So value and text so far. So we'll go value, and we will return value, and text we will, return text. All right. I'm going to go move these over. I'll have to take, I know this looks a little bit weird. This is just quick and easy for me to copy these to be sure I got them all. That way I don't have to go back and forth. And I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to copy that. We'll go over to our parser, and now we just want to make sure our tokens, we really don't need these tokens anymore, but I'll leave them there. Token percent. We've got some of them already. Let me paste them in here. We've got dungeon. We don't need rooms anymore. We're not going to use that. We've got room. We've got name. We've got description. We've got exits. What did I delete by mistake? Okay, we've got room. We've got name. We've got description. We've got exits. These are the ones that we need. So we've got unique and item and value and text and ident. Okay. We've already got ident down here. So we take that out of there. All right. Okay, our tokens are set up. Now we have to start putting together the structure of what a dungeon is. So at the top level, we really can't say that, in some languages an empty file is okay. The compiler basically just ignores it. We might go to multiple files, and why that is, I don't know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that a dungeon is the keyword dungeon, followed by an ident, followed by this. And let's make sure we've got open brace over here as a thing. It does not look like we do. So we need to add our open brace and close brace. Oops. Quote. Close brace. And we'll just grab this. Copy it there. And copy it there. And we'll make this open brace and close brace. And we probably need equals as well, because I decided that those values, so we'll add an equal sign in here, and we'll return equal sign. Okay, now we can use those symbols over here. So we've got that ident followed by a it's going to be another non-terminal. It's going to be dungeon items, I guess. And it'll be followed by a close brace. So then we can have dungeon items. And dungeon items are a single dungeon item without an S, or dungeon items followed by a dungeon item. All right. Oh, and we got to put a semicolon in here. And I don't want to forget the semicolons ending these things. That's how they separate them off. So we've described this kind of construct before. This is basically recursion. And what it says is, here's our top level construct, dungeon items. And it can be a dungeon item, just one. Or it can be dungeon items, which is a dungeon item, followed by another dungeon item, which can be another 2 dungeon items followed by a dungeon item, or 3 dungeon items followed by a dungeon item, and so forth. It's just recursive. It's a way of describing that this just, you can add as many dungeon items as you want. Okay, and so now we have to know what a dungeon item is. So we go in here, dungeon item, and let's do the description first. So yeah, we'll just start by, it's a description, or it's a item. Oops, not that kind of item. Item. Or a unique item. We'll have those separated off. Unique item. Or a room. Or a room. Okay. So those are the four things that a dungeon item can be. Now, technically, because of this description there could be multiple descriptions in here, and we'll handle that later. We'll either allow for multiple descriptions of a dungeon for some reason, or we will disallow them, but we'll determine it as we generate the abstract syntax tree, rather than having the compiler think of it differently. So it can be a dungeon item can be any of these. So this can be basically a list of any of these. Now we just have to specify what they are. All right. So the first one that we have is description. So let's work on that one. So we create a description. This is a non-terminal for a description. And we describe what a description is. Well, it comes with the keyword description at the beginning, followed by one of these, and then description items, followed by a close brace. That's a description. So what are description items? So as we move down, we get more detailed, right? We just keep getting more detailed. So now we have description items. What are they? Well, description items, again, are going to be this recursive thing. Well, let me think about that. I said description items. You know what? I think it's going to be description is going to have a display name and a text. Well, actually, it can be empty. Or it can be a display name. Or it can be text. That's what description items are. Darn it. The autocomplete on Visual Studio Code just is a little sticky and just wants to insist on putting it the way it thinks it should be. So we already have an idea of what a display name is. So we can go display name. And a display name is name. Oh, you know what? We called it name, didn't we? And that's kind of weird for a... So display name, we just called it name. Yeah, I'll just leave it as name. We'll just, for now, we'll just remember that. Maybe we'll fix it a little better later. But it's going to be the keyword display name, followed by a string, a T string. Text is going to be the keyword text followed by a T string. So that takes care of description. Description items are display name or text. It can actually, you know what? It needs to be a display name. It can be empty or display name followed by text. We just want one. We want a single display name followed by text or none. Or we could do it as just a display name. Yeah, it's got to have a display name. Text is kind of optional. It could be display name or display name followed by text. So either way, you have to have a display name, but you can have a display name or a display name followed by text. Both are legitimate. So if you just want to leave the description out for some reason, but you really need to have a display name or it won't know how to display the room. So we'll just kind of make that one required. Okay. So far, so good. We've got the dungeon and we've got the description done. And let's see if, let's see what kind of results we get out of this if we do a make. And of course we get some kind of errors here. What are they? Okay, so those are fine. Oh, we have to create these other things too. So we'll go ahead and create. We'll just go ahead and create item, unique item, and room. See if it'll build now. And it did. And so if we go game, and /slant my dungeon.dng, syntax error, unexpected item, expecting description or close. So yeah, so it's expecting either another description because it's the only thing it knows about right now. So we have to fill these in, but it compiled that far. It compiled down to where it got to item. So this part here succeeded, I think. I wonder why that printed out 0 there. Did we do the @ text thing yet? Oh, it printed out an @ okay. So actually there's one other thing we need to do. Did I... One second while I look at my notes. They're odd. Okay, well, we're fine. So we just got to create these other things in the very similar way that we did this one. We're starting to run into about 30 minutes on this video. So this is the kind of the direction we're going in, and once we get this done, what we'll do is we will have an object, a C++ object that represents a dungeon, and when it compiles this description, it's going to add that description into that dungeon object that'll be part of our game. When it creates a knife and so forth, it'll add these items in and it'll build up this dungeon. We just have to finish flushing this out, and then we can build those objects that match up to this, and then we can start emitting those objects. And what'll happen is, over here in main, we already have our command line loop set up. Once it evaluates this, we'll pump it into there, and so this will have an actual dungeon to work upon. So I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you really liked it, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.